Today I'll be doing a bridal look which is more towards a cocktail or a Sangeet, which can be worn during the night obviously. So it is a combination of gold with green. So something like this I feel goes with majority of the outfits, because when girls choose wedding outfits they tend to be very colorful, more in the shades of golds, reds obviously, yes, maybe pinks as well. So this combination I feel is very common. Even when I have gone ahead and done a few brides, they tend to wear the same combinations, and a gold and green still looks very beautiful. So to start off, I will be doing the eyes first, because again, to avoid any fallouts eventually when we're working with foundation, and then moving on to foundation with the blush and the lipstick at the end of it. So to start off, I'll be using the MAC Paintpot in the shade of Let Me Pop. This was from their Champagne collection. Any paint pot will work fine, just so that we need a base before the eyeshadow, so this will work well. I'm using the ring finger and applying it all over the eyelid. Now for the gold color, I'll be using this, which is called Amber Lights by MAC. It's a beautiful copperish gold. It's not too yellow, it's not too brown. I think it's just a very good blend of a yellow and a copper. Using it with a flat eyeshadow brush, which is by the Loreal company in the number of 815. Just dabbing off a little bit of product onto the brush, taking off any excess, because this tends to fall a lot onto the face. Applying it all over the eye until the end. Now just blend off any lines that are visible to the eye with a 217 brush or any fluffy dome shaped brush. And then for the outer corner, you could use a color which looks like this. It's called Humid by MAC. It's a beautiful green. Just taking a little bit on the same fluffy dome brush and just using it a little bit on the outer corner of the eye. And the best way to blend your eyeshadow, I feel, is by keeping your eye open, looking into the mirror and then blending exactly where you want. Because when your eyes are closed, you tend to go above the crease. So that is a spot which obviously needs no eyeshadow except for a highlighter. But when you're blending your eyeshadow over the crease, make sure that you're doing it when your eyes are slightly open. So in a look like this, the best thing to do is just blend. Blending should literally become your best friend, because if you do not blend your eyeshadow, you'll get a lot of lines in between which would look very obvious. Now for the highlighter, because again it's a wedding function, a highlighter which is extra shimmery will look very beautiful. So I'm using a goldenish white shade by the brand of B&D. This is a pigment or a highlighter, and I will not be taking a lot of product, just taking a little bit onto the same fluffy dome brush from the lid and applying it as a highlighter on the brow bone. Now this would be a good time to blend off any lines if you see, and if you feel that there's anything obvious. Moving on to using a kajal, I'll be using the MAC Engraved. Now this pencil will not smudge, so make sure that in case if it's a function where you feel that you're going to cry or you're going to get very emotional, make sure that you're wearing something that's totally waterproof, because or else it will tend to run and your entire face will be filled with kajal or mascara. Next, after the kajal, I'll be using the Loreal Long Stay Eyeliner with a pointed tip brush, which looks like this. Anything like this will work good. Basically, all you need is a very fine point so that you can get a very crisp line. Now, if you have a look and pay a little attention to Natasha's eyes, her crease line is extremely close to the lid. So if I try to give her a thick eyeliner, her eyeshadow is totally going to vanish and it's not going to be visible at all. So what I'll be doing is going very thin with the eyeliner and not even winging it out, because again, if I wing it out for this kind of an eye shape, it might just suddenly look like two horns on either side of her eyes. So we'll just stick to using a very thin line, because even that would make her eyes look very pretty and beautiful. Now that the eyes are almost complete, we'll do the last minute touch-ups after we're done with the foundation. So I will be using the MAC primer, the face primer, using a little bit of it on the ring finger, blending it with the middle finger and the ring finger and spreading it all over the face. Now, at least for a bridal, a face primer is strongly recommended, because the foundation needs to last for many hours together. Sometimes in some castes the the wedding ceremony is after the reception, so that would mean starting off early in the evening and going on till the wee hours of morning. So in times like that, a face primer would really help, because it would make your foundation last for very long and it would give a very nice and smooth surface to your application of foundation. Now, because it's a bridal makeup, any kind of marks, spots or anything can be covered. It's not like you should cover them. It's totally again upon you whether you want to or not. Even if I do cover, I would still leave something natural on the face, because I feel that that is what identifies a person. So for Natasha, under her eyes, I will just be using a little bit of a concealer. I'm using the Lancome Concealer, which matches her skin tone. Taking a little bit of it on my hand and just using my ring finger and dotting a little bit of it and just blending it very gently with the same ring finger. Now this is extremely natural. In case if you need more coverage, I would recommend choosing like a cream concealer, because that would cover much more. And always cover only areas where you feel it's required. Don't unnecessarily load up your face with a lot of concealer just because you feel you have a lot of spots or blemishes or marks, because the more you conceal, the more prominent it becomes. Sometimes there are some people with skin who have the mouth area that's a little dark, a little bit of the forehead is dark, so that those are areas that can be worked upon. You can use a little bit of the concealer there as well. And do not conceal beauty spots. They are there for a reason. And whenever you dot a concealer, make sure that you do not leave it that way and blend it out with your finger, because that way it at least spreads around and the skin looks even more even. Next on, it's foundation time. I'll be using the Studio Fix Fluid. Again, taking a little bit onto the hand, using a MAC 190 brush or any similar brush to this. It just needs to be flat, because flatter brushes give more coverage. So taking a little bit onto the brush and making downward strokes. Now, just because this is a cocktail ceremony or a Sangeet does not mean that you load up your face with tons of foundation, because in photographs you are going to look extremely cakey. So the best way to judge how much foundation you have applied is by standing in front of someone and asking them their opinion, because obviously if a person is seeing layers of makeup on your face, they are going to tell you that you're looking totally caked and dolled up. And in case if they tell you that it does not even look like you're wearing something, that's bang on what you need to try to achieve. Now, foundation can be applied with a brush or with a sponge. I generally feel that a brush is very good in applying a foundation, because there are areas that you generally tend to forget to apply on, which is the corners of the nose and the corners of the lips. You tend to forget that you've applied foundation or you haven't. But with a brush like this, you know exactly that you have or you haven't. Now with the sponge, what happens is that a lot of the product is sucked into your sponge, leaving very little onto your face. Make sure to fill the foundation into the hairline too. It should look like exactly one color. And your neck should also be covered. Now always cover the concealer with a little bit of foundation. Use the brush and then go ahead and use your fingers to just dab on a little bit so that it just blends together. And the best finger to use around the eyes is your ring finger. Just press it in so that it fills into all the fine lines. Now instead of using a loose powder, I'll be using the Studio Fix foundation powder just to make it look a little bit more dressy or heavy. But instead of using it with a sponge, I'll be using it with a fluffy brush. This is the B&D Professional Blush Brush in the number of 51. Just taking a little bit of the powder onto the brush and dabbing off any excess and pressing it into the skin so that it sticks on very well to the foundation and does not move throughout. In case if you tend to sweat or in case if you by chance happen to be in rain, make sure that you have a tissue handy and dab it rather than rubbing. Now in case if you rub, you'll have a lot of foundation removed onto the tissue, but if you dab, you'll just have the particles of the water which will be off your face. Now for the under eyes, you have an option of using a green and a gold, or you can just use a total brown color, something that is a matte texture to give a little bit of depth and dimension. So I'll be using the Embark shade by MAC. It's a dark chocolatey brown. Using it with a pencil brush, which is the MAC 219. And just drawing a very thin line under the eyes, not reaching the inner corner. Now for the inner corner, you could use the same gold that we had used earlier for the top. Amber Lights by MAC again. And just apply that on the inner corner. Now what this does is that it makes your eyes appear to look slightly bigger and it adds a pop of color, making it look very shimmery. And this would look very pretty in photographs. Now moving on to contouring the face, if you have a look at Natasha's cheekbones, they are already very sharp. So I will just contour it slightly so that it does not look too obvious. I'm using the color Cork by MAC, taking it on a contour brush which looks like this. Anything that's angled and slightly fluffy will work. Now the contour always has to be where you can feel your bone just below that. So applying it on her original contour of the face and just blending it a little bit so as it looks very natural. The contour always stops until here. It does not come ahead because it would look unnatural again, and it goes until the ear area in a slight slant. Next for the blush, I'll be using the B&D Professional blush in a pinkish color, using it with a fluffy brush again, having Natasha smile and applying it on her cheeks, the apples, and then blending it upwards and taking a little bit onto the temples so that it looks like a continuation of color. I'll be using the same highlighter that I had used here earlier, that's the B&D Professional highlighter. Just taking a little bit from the lid onto a fluffy brush and just applying it on her bone. Now when you apply a highlighter and when you just turn your face, and in case if there's light flashing upon you, the entire side would shine and it looks beautiful, especially in bright light. Now for the cheeks, I'll be adding a little bit of a sheen which is in a copperish color. This is by B&D again, and it's again got a lot of sparkle and shine. This is what it looks like. So this is sort of kind of like a highlighter, but it's very rich in shine. So use little bit of it, or else your face would again tend to shine a lot. Now moving on to the lips, I'll be using a pencil by MAC. It's called Half Red. It's a shade of red and brown mixed, I feel. And I'll be just filling this up with this color and using a brighter pink as a lipstick, because when you blend them both, you'll get a softer color. Now the lipstick that I'll be using is called Speak Louder by MAC, and this is how bright it is. But it will balance out because the lip color is dark. I'm using it with the MAC lip brush in the number of 316. So keeping the dress color and the eyeshadow combination and everything in mind, a pink lip color for a bride looks very pretty, or even a red for that matter. A brown would also go, but then I feel brown on photographs might make you look too pale or dull. So sticking on to pinks and purples would be good. Also thinking about the fact that it is a Sangeet and a cocktail, I would recommend not using something that's glossy, because glossy lips look good in camera, yes, but then when you would smile or talk, it would tend to smudge all over the face. So sticking on to a glossy lipstick is good, but stay away from gloss as much as you can. So this is one of Natasha's bridal looks for a cocktail or a Sangeet. I will return with another bridal look of Natasha's for a reception, so keep watching.